Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks it three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning, Syndicate members. What is up? Live from Austin, Texas. We're here with you again like we are every Wednesday at 9 a.m. I'm Tony Merwin. That is the king of Facebook groups, the king of trucking insurance, the Jolly Ginger Giant himself.
Joseph. What's up? That is my name. Don't wear it out, Mr. Merwin. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are super excited for this show. We have it's going to be action-packed. We have an amazing guest for you guys. And obviously, before we get into that, make sure and let StreamYard view your comments. It is in the description, just like Mr. Josh Lippincott. Good morning, brother. Thank you for tuning in. So just like this, real quick, Lily, I'll put it up there. For Facebook user, again, make sure and click on that link at StreamYard.com/Facebook so that we can get you up on the screen. We would love to give you that. So before we get into bringing our guests, what are you laughing at?
The comment. I love that one. That's my favorite.
Oh, the Jolly. Yeah, okay, whatever, man. I used to get called James the Giant Peach, so I'll take Jolly Ginger Giant. The James the Giant Peach one is what pissed me off the most. Anyways, before we get into the show, guys, go ahead real quick. You guys know it's time for the weekly win. Drop that in the comments, whatever you got. We want to hear it. We want to celebrate with you. My weekly win, actually, well, we didn't have softball last night, so I can't talk about softball. We're on bye week. It was a mindset shift for me. So some of you guys probably saw the post on my personal page yesterday, and just really there's been a lot going on. Obviously, you guys saw our announcement last week with the merger, and so just we've had a lot on our plates and a lot going on. And then obviously, that I'm a family man, and so have all that going on as soon as you walk in the door from being busy during the day. And I just, for the past few weeks, man, I was just tired. And it wasn't even that I wasn't necessarily getting things done. I just wasn't hitting the potential or the activity where I wanted to be. And so some of y'all might be feeling like that. And man, for me, it was just the flip of the switch where it's like, you know what? I'm tired of it was like literally, it was me being in bed, man. Like I'd open my eyes and I'd look and it'd be like, oh man, it's 5:15. Like, I'm just going to go back to bed. Right. Or it would be, I'd wake up a little bit later than that. And well, I can still make it to the office by 8:00, man. Let me just catch another 30 minutes because I'm exhausted. Right. And man, for me, the mindset shift was because of the seat that I'm sitting in, man, I need to lead by example. Right. And honestly, all my guys were getting into the office before I was. And I'm like, why is that the case? Right. And so that's definitely my weekly win, man. It was just a big mindset shift for me where, again, was back in the office early this morning. Now me and Hanky have a thing of who's going to beat who to the office. So I got in at right at 7 a.m. He was already here. Coffee's already full pot made, which is cool, right? It's like I'm trying to be first, but it also it brings your team with you. So that's my weekly win. Shout out to Hanky for beating me to the office this morning. I know. But that's it for me. It's a mindset one for sure.
Beating Hanky to the office is no easy feat.
It's not, dude. It's not. I barely beat him yesterday. That's for sure.
Yeah. I've come in here a couple times super early, and he thought someone was mugging him because he gets there so early. It's still dark outside. It's pitch black in here. Coffee's going, and that's the only light on and pretty much in the whole building. I came in one day and I had my beanie cap on or something, and he thought he was getting mugged for a second. He's like, "Who the hell's in here this early?"
That's funny. What you got going on this week? Yep.
It could easily be the rain that we're getting in Austin today. I mean, that's a super win because it has been hot here in Texas with no rain. I mean, there's so little rain. Medicare even thinks it's worthy of a drought SEP for all the Medicare people because there's no rain, you can't make elections in Medicare. So they have a year-round SEP going because of the drought. But truthfully, my weekly win is going to be carrier relationships, man. I talk about relationships a lot. I had a carrier come through for me in a big way. And I'll just go ahead and say it, WellCare, generally not my favorite carrier. And a lot of times it's been because of the experience I've had with the rep in the past. WellCare made a bunch of changes this year in their broker reps. As a matter of fact, I think they got rid of about 85% of them. And the broker rep that works with me now is a broker rep with WellCare that I met a few years ago. She was actually the Houston broker rep, Joanna Linares. If anybody knows Joanna Linares, whoop, whoop, you know how solid she is. She's the Houston rep. She actually wasn't supposed to help me over here in Austin, but I couldn't get my Austin rep to do anything for me, and I developed a relationship with Joanna in Houston. Now she's in charge of all of Texas. She took me out to lunch. Yeah, so super cool, super responsive, but she took me out to lunch last week, told me of some of the things that they're doing, what she wants from me, and she's dropping 10,000 branded WellCare pieces with all of my contact info on it for AAP on her own dime. I don't have to pay for none of it. That should generate some phone calls right there for sure. So super happy with that. Thank you, Joanna. And I tell a lot of the agents in the Medicare space, man, if you're not out there building relationships with your local carrier reps for all of these carriers that you work with, you're really missing the boat, because that is a great wheel to grease. And if you grease that wheel, they'll take care of you, man, because they want business too. And you got to think about these broker reps. They don't care where the business comes from. They don't care if I write it. They don't care if Bill writes it. They don't care if somebody else writes it. As long as their market gets more business, they'll get their bonus. So if they know that you have the idea to go out there and help them grow that and get their bonus, then they'll get behind you and support you. And she's throwing down 10,000 pieces. So I'm super happy about that. Thank you again, Joanna.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. And I think that goes back, what was that, a couple weeks ago for your Tuesday training that you did with Emily Trevino and Josh Young. And I know Emily talks a lot about just, again, these are partnerships, right? I was just in a comment thread. This is more on the P&C side, but just really talking about guys like you can be for the client, but the client don't cut you your commission checks, right? And so really just viewing that carrier relationship not as a, hey, they kind of work for you. It's no, this is a partnership. And if anything, we kind of work for them. They're the ones that cut our checks, right? Now, don't get me wrong, we get to run our businesses and everything. But in these crazy markets, whether it's on the P&C side, I know you guys have had a lot of changes on the Medicare and the health side of things. Man, really dig in and foster those relationships and create a partnership out of it, right? Where you
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody's going to say no to a free 10,000 drop. Like, I mean, I'll freaking take that all day. So good stuff, man. Well, good deal. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the show. And we're super excited. You guys maybe have seen me posting about him. He actually is going to be, I'll probably let him share some of this, but he's a new networking host over in Alexis Talent's new Facebook group. So we're super excited to have him on, and recently got to connect with him, and just the dude is crazy sharp and everything that he's got going. And I'm super excited for him to share his story with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. We got Mr. Joseph Nourai. What's up, brother?
What's up, the Insurance Syndicate? Happy Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Let's go. I love that energy, baby. Come on.
Yes, sir. How are you guys doing today?
Man, if I was doing any better, I'd probably fall down in fits. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you. Where are you joining us from?
No, it's my pleasure, guys. I'm joining y'all from, currently Weatherford, Texas, just outside of Fort Worth, about half an hour west of Fort Worth.
You getting any rain up there yourself?
We have been slammed with rain for the past week or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been insane, but the drop from 110 degrees to 70 degrees and humid and wet is not doing anything for my sinuses. So, maybe we could level out the weather a little bit, a little more smooth transition, but we'll take what we can get in Texas.
Understood, man. We're happy to get the rain today for sure.
Yes, sir.
Cool, man. Well, if you can, Joe, just kind of give him a quick little introduction. Who is Joseph Nourai? Kind of just 30,000 foot overview, and then share whatever a weekly win you got for us.
Yeah, absolutely. well, now I guess I'll start present and move backwards. Owner of the Nourai agency, powered by Redwood Agency Group. One of the best decisions I've made in my life. But I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. I've had that spirit since I was a kid. Age of 14 was my first business, let's say, and we could share that story in a little bit. But I've always been a self-learner. School was never my forte. Not that the information was hard or not that the grades were bad or anything like that, but I've always just had something in me where if I want to go do something or if I want to go learn something, I'll put my effort towards that and not something, that maybe I don't like algebra or geometry or something, whatever. So always had an entrepreneurial drive. I've worked in finance for finance and sales for most of my corporate career. And then transitioned into real estate about 5 years ago, and from real estate into the insurance game. And it's been a fun ride, man. I'm so excited.
Love it. Dude.
What were you doing in real estate?
Wholesaling, rentals, flipping. I've done it all here in Texas, as far out as Tyler, inside of Texas, and as far as Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, virtually. So it's a fun industry for sure.
Right on.
Love it, man. What you got? Weekly win for us?
Yeah, weekly win. Super excited about this one. We are writing the first official policy for the Nourai agency today.
Yay! Let's go.
Yeah,
I better see it in the premium tracker group.
Yeah, no, you will as soon as we get everything sent through. But it's a big milestone. Obviously having been kind of sitting on the sidelines for the past 2 months, transitioning into this agency owner role. Having a previous client of mine from my old book give me a shout and say, hey, there's nobody better who's taken care of me. Can you take care of me here? And I was happy to do so. So big win on Wednesday.
Congrats.
Come on, man.
Thank you guys.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, dude, so take us back. Let's go back to, maybe, I guess, so you said my first gig was at 14. Do you think it started even before then? Where does that, or did you get it maybe from your family, from a parent, from a friend, or is it, dude, this is just me?
Yeah, it's a great question. So both of my parents, God bless them, I had an amazing childhood, but it's because they sacrificed a lot of their time and effort. I always felt like my dad was very entrepreneurial, but he's been in car dealerships for 35 plus years on the finance and GM side. So even though he could have done a million different things and owned probably a couple of very successful businesses, it doesn't matter. I've got a family to take care of. I get up at 5 a.m, I come home at 10 o'clock at night, and that's the way it goes. So my mom worked in a law firm for 30 years, and that was what was preached to me. It was, be safe, go get a job, take care of your family. But they kind of unknowingly fostered my entrepreneurial spirit. Mm-hmm. When I was 3, I had a, computer in my room as a 3-year-old, working off old, my MS-DOS, for those that remember the good old days. So at 3 years old, I was trying to figure out, how do I work this, ancient computer? How do I, do different things? And it kind of, for all of their, all of their faults as parents, which we all have. One of them was leaving me alone in a room with the computer at 3 years old. But it made me curious, right? What are you going to do as a 3-year-old? You're the most curious human being of all time at that point. So, just that simple thing alone launched probably a million ideas in my head. What I could do. And, they unknowingly fostered that mentality for me, for sure.
What did you ever learn as a 3-year-old with that computer?
Man, you know what? You could probably put me back in DOS right now. I'd be good to go. But what that started was, okay, let's learn how to, as I got older, let's learn how to code a little bit. back in the AOL days, when, you had the child protections on there. So you had the kids version of AOL and then the adults version of AOL. Learning how to, write sports blogs when I was 7 or 8 years old. Sports writer by the name of Bill Simmons used to have an AOL blog. That's where he started. I used to, as a kid, write guest posts about the New York Yankees and send them in. So it was just a lot of information at my fingertips at such a young age. I don't know if you guys remember the Microsoft Encarta encyclopedia. I would just spend hours reading on Encarta, and it just it unlocks a lot of, you're like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? Well, okay, now I know how to do this. What can I do with it? Right. So all of that stuff, swirling around your head as a kid, by the time you get to your teenage years, you're just like information overload. You're like, oh, I know so many of these things. How can I put them to use? And that's kind of where it started.
Right. Well, you brought up Yankees. So where are you from? Where were you doing all this? And then kind of lead us into that first gig really at 14.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a Yankees fan. My family's from New York. But obviously I've lived in Texas for most of my life, including a couple of other states. So, but that Yankees blood runs thick. But in Texas, I was living in Keller, Texas, a suburb of North Fort Worth, and around 13 years old. I'm not sure if you guys remember when the original PlayStation 2 came out, that really fat console system. They had made an adapter to where you could plug in and play online for the first time. And I was really into a football video game, Madden, at that point in my life. And Madden 2004 was, I think, the first time you could really go online and play against each other, talk to people online, talk crap and play the video game against each other. And, before esports was popular, right? 2004, nobody was, esporting, for lack of better words.
No Discord channels and stuff like that.
No Discord, no Twitch, no Kick, no anything like that. Well, me and my best friend at the time, like I said, they left us alone in a room with computers. What are we going to do? We were, playing party poker online, at 13, 14 years old. And we decided, hey, well, what better way? We're really good at Madden. Let's create a website where people can bet on playing Madden games with each other. And, that's kind of a popular thing now, but that wasn't around back then. So we coded a website, opened bank accounts, had payment portals. We were taking commissions off the top of every single bet that came through the site. With all the information from Encarta, you think I'd learn some laws. My mom working in a law firm, but we thought
that's ironic.
We thought 14 years old, what's the worst that could happen? Well, my best friend's mom got a call from the gaming commission of the FBI.
Nice.
Yeah. So we were reported by someone. They gave us a pretty big scare. Probably the scariest thing a 14-year-old can hear is, hey, the FBI's on your tail. And so we had to shut that site down, but not before we made some money. So, that kind of started my whole, I said, wow, if all I'm getting away with here is a slap on the wrist from the FBI and I can make some money, let's put this to good use and see what we could do in business.
That's freaking
wow.
I didn't even think about the fact that your mom's like a 30-year, like in the law firm. She's getting the call. That's
man. Those conversations I had with my parents were tense, but we made it through.
So then what was next from that? Right. So obviously, hey, like you know how to code everything that you're doing at such a young age, right? Like a lot of people are years behind that. Yeah. So kind of step us through. I can't remember if you ended up going, did you do college or anything like that? And then kind of take us a little bit through that.
Yeah, very briefly. College was very brief. But what good is knowledge, information, the know-how, business acumen, if you're not, ready to put that to use as a person, responsibilities, maturity, it just quite honestly wasn't quite there for me at the time. So, putting that to use, a lot of my late teens and early 20s were spent out on 6th Street in Austin or 7th Street in Fort Worth. And, I was working hard, but I was playing really hard as well.
Right.
So from there, I got into finance. I worked at TD Ameritrade for some time. Went and kind of, when I was exhausted and burnt out, worked with my dad in finance and, in the dealerships here in Texas, and made great money. But I was burnt out. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was always struggling between, okay, go to work at 7 a.m. and don't come home until midnight. And, in the meantime, I was thinking, man, if I could just, work for myself, if I could just get myself off the ground and launch something. And, I had actually gotten so burnt out that I moved from Texas to Scottsdale, Arizona for a couple of years, just as a reset. I said, I needed to get away from my parents. I felt like I was, disappointing them in some way. I was disappointing myself in some way, and I had to just go find myself for a little bit. So I did that, and then I got a call from a good friend of mine at the time, and he said, "Hey, here's what I'm doing in real estate in Texas. We need someone that we know can, kind of head up a division and build a business." And, he said, "I think that's you." So I moved back to Texas, and we started our little real estate investment company, and had a really successful time with that. And I'm still doing that on the side here now. But yeah, then transitioned into insurance, and here we are.
Right.
What was it about Scottsdale just that made you go cruise over there for a couple of years and find yourself?
Yeah, I just, somewhere in my mind, I was like, this is a desert. Like, in my mind, Scottsdale is just dirt and sand, and I want to go see it. I've never, been a West Coast / West, USA kind of guy. I've been to San Diego a couple of times. That was kind of it. And I was like, man, maybe this is the desert. Maybe this is where I go, find myself. And I get to Scottsdale, and it turns out it's not the desert at all. It's a very, very dangerous place for a 24-year-old who's making money. Yeah. And so the finding myself took a little longer than I anticipated. But you get out there, and it's all fun. It's party. It's great weather. But what it did is it made me kind of focus on, okay, well, I'm out here alone. I really don't have any friends. That alone time, really, when you could sit in your room and think, just kind of does wonders for a person. And I spent many nights mapping out what I wanted my future to look like.
Like that.
Yeah. And it really helped. And it was so cool to see and feel really the energy that Scottsdale had. It's a very young place. It's a very 18 to 32, 35 demographic. It's the work hard, play hard, but the energy's palpable. It's kind of like, I'd say the West Coast, New York City. You get out in New York and you're walking around all these people. Everyone is doing something, right? Nobody cares about you because they're focused on what they got to do. And it felt like that in Scottsdale and Phoenix, which was a really weird feeling because, there's no skyscrapers in Scottsdale, right? You're not walking around Fifth Avenue. There's no, major news networks or anything based in Scottsdale, but it was just the energy of, well, these are young people just like me. And they're all trying to hustle and do something. And that kind of helped ignite it as well.
Nice.
Love that. It's good. I wanted to make a quick point, and then I have a follow-up question for you. You were talking about your parents, we'll call them quote unquote faults, right? And what kind of, those are what kind of fostered and cultivated this entrepreneurial spirit within you, right? And I think I wanted to make a point of, and I literally wrote it down, is that sometimes things are unknowingly fostering and cultivating inside of us. And I think a lot of agents, it's like the story of the gold digger, right? Where he's like, he gave up right before he, and who knows, like, you have this thing inside. It's like the whole house of dreams that we do, Joe. So, that's like kind of spot on with how I think. There is something, I promise you, in each and every one of us that maybe it just hasn't come out yet, right? Or maybe it's still cultivating. Maybe you're still waiting for that big win. And it's just not time, right? But I always say it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right? So if you are maybe kind of feeling a little bit in the dumps, maybe, hey, it's a hardened market, whatever it is, right? I bet you're right on the other side of about to have your biggest win. There's something that's fostering and cultivating in you. And I wanted to make that point. And my follow-up question to you is, so obviously you were advanced at a young age, right? And so let's even, you're talking about creating that roadmap. When your brain works the way that it does, right? And I'm sure you probably see probably more shiny objects because you understand more about the shiny objects than kind of your average person does.
It's a curse.
How do you,
it's not a blessing.
Well, so that's my question is, how do you choose? How did you draw that map for yourself? Like to kind of, okay, like this is what I'm going to focus on when you could have had success probably in all those other categories, right?
Yeah, it's tough. So, a lot of us are built a certain way, right? And Joe, I know you're a dad. So, kind of to start with your point of unknowingly fostering, I know that you want the best for your kids, right? Regardless of what that is, I know you want the best. Now, if you're, cultivating something inside of your kids or showing them different methods of doing things, sometimes it works to where the kids gravitate towards what you're teaching them. But sometimes what that does is your kids can say, okay, well, I see dad teaching me this way. It's not quite for me. Right. And so they go the opposite way. And so regardless of what that is, you just want your kids to be happy. And I know that's what my parents want for me, even to this day. Right. My parents are two of my best friends in the entire world. They've done so much for me. So when I say faults,
that's why I did quotes.
All parents are young at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody has the roadmap to perfection. Otherwise, we'd all be superhumans. And I love them dearly. I just wanted to make that point. But yeah, it's tough, and that's what I talked about the maturity and responsibility aspect of why I wasn't ready to put anything I had or any motivation I had to use is when you see a bunch of things for better or worse, and you're like, oh, I can make money doing that. Well, yeah, and I know this is a bit of a family podcast, but you could make money selling drugs, right? People see that all the time, and that's the route some very smart people go, right? Not every drug dealer is, dumb or irresponsible, right? There are some very, very smart drug dealers, and those are pharmaceutical companies, right? So,
right.
There's a million different ways you can go. You just have to be, mature enough and responsible enough to say, well, here's what I want. I want a family. I want to be able to take care of, my parents, my spouse, my kids. I want to be able to go to Florida whenever I want and hang out on the beach, right? These are all things I want. Now, how can I get there? Right. And like you said, it's the house of dreams. It's all reverse engineering, right? Well, if I want to sell 4 policies a day, I know I have to talk to, 30 people, and to talk to 30 people, I need to make 150 phone calls. And, in order to make 150 phone calls, I need to wake up at 8:00, have my coffee, take care of my responsibilities, and go to work. Right. Yeah. So these are all simple things, but a lot of people struggle, and myself included, with, it's just like going to the gym, right? It's the hardest step is just getting out of bed in the morning. Mm-hmm. Right. The hardest step is stepping foot in the door. But I'm a big believer of doing before knowing, and trial and error, right? Trial by fire. And recently it's worked out for me. So hopefully we can continue that.
Right. Yeah. I think it gets, well, in just this day and age, man, it gets tougher and tougher, right? There's like a new shiny object that's coming out like every other freaking week, right? And remove even just insurance, right? Or even you talk about AI in general, right? Like we've had multiple podcasts about, there's a new AI tool or software or something coming out like every freaking week. How many chat GPTs are there? Like freaking 25 now?
A million, yeah.
Yeah, like less than a year, which is just crazy to me. And I think, some of that too is, and I'm a big believer that if you're struggling, we're talking about kind of a roadmap, right? Mm-hmm. And, like even for Joseph going through that trial by fire, that's me, right? Anybody knows me, like I was all trial and error because we didn't really have anybody to give us that roadmap. Right. So if you are feeling like, man, I've got all these shiny objects in front of me. Well, if you're watching this show, you're already in the right forum to ask, hey, what are you guys doing? Like you go to somebody else that's kind of running a similar operation or whatever that's already done it. Maybe they've been in longer than you, or hey, they just have the numbers to show the proof of the pudding. Go seek it out, right? It's like we talk a lot about that, is that, you know, we're not mind readers. I'm an open book. I'll literally give you any and everything, just straight up honesty, right? But like, I can't do that if you don't reach out, right? Or I can't, like, if you're not seeking it out, then I'm not going to know that, hey, I need to, well, and is it really even my job to reach out to you, right? So that's more, and again, don't take that as like me being away. It's more, it's encouragement that if, hey, dude, I've got like 10 different things that I'm trying to choose. I can't figure out which one I want. Go seek it out and talk to 2 to 3 different people, right? Do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
So I love that. And so I guess, so how did you stumble into insurance, right? Hey, I'm having success with real estate, I know, and you can kind of share that back into the story, but even more so, how did you really choose insurance? Because again, you could have gone all the other routes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I had been in real estate for a while. You know, the pandemic hit, and the third member of our team, really the founder and creator, if you will, of the investment company we were running, cut me and my friend loose March of 2020. And wow. It was, he said, hey, sorry, you know, I'm stopping all funding. I'm stopping marketing. You know, if you want to continue this, go do it yourself. And, you know, all this stuff's happening in the world. I just bought a, you know, brand new apartment. I was kind of living the high life, and, you know, the money was rolling in, and then all of a sudden it just stopped rolling in. So, you know, when that happens, you either got 2 options: you lay down, or you pick yourself up and you go make something happen. And that's what, you know, me and my business partner did. And we actually had our best year March 2020 to December of 2020. Our best year financially on record. It was insane. We were just in the middle of everything. If something was going on real estate related in the city, we were there. If someone listed a house on the market, we were the first ones on the listing. And it's that kind of, you know, hustle when nothing's there that just shows you, like, I can create something out of nothing, right? And anyone can do it with hard work. And I know a lot of people who are, you know, not, you know, maybe don't think they're at the top of their game right now or the most successful that they'll be. They say, well, you know, just something needs to fall in my lap, or, you know, oh, if only this could happen, if only that could happen. I promise you, I am living testament that if you just get off your butt and do some of the work and talk to people, you will find some success.
Yeah.
And so from there, you know, my business partner and I ended up having a falling out in 2022. We both had a couple of non-competes in our agreements with each other. And I was kind of sitting around the house. This girl I had started dating at the end of 2021. I think she was getting a little fed up with me. You know, my beard was unkempt. I was, you know, I don't really have a lot of hair, but the little hairs that I did have were growing out. I probably looked like Albert Einstein. It was disgusting. I don't know how she's still with me, but I think she got a little tired of me, and she said, hey man, like, maybe you do something, like anything. And so I started perusing for, you know, going back to the corporate life, and I was just dreading it every single day. And what happened was I stumbled upon, you know, I never really looked into insurance, but I had a mutual contact that had reached out to me and said, you know, hey, why don't you come work for my Allstate agency as a rep? I'll pay you $30,000 and a small commission. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. I don't know about taking a big step back like that. But I started researching insurance, and I had ended up finding Goosehead Insurance, their corporate center here in Fort Worth. I had interviewed for an entry-level account executive position. I remember on my interview, the director or the VP of sales saying, man, I'll hire you in a heartbeat, but this job is not for you. Like, you will just get bored of this. You will be gone in 3 months. You'll have success, but you just won't be here. So I'll hire you, but it's just, you know, I'm not really going to put that much into you. It's, you know, you're not made for this level of the job. So I said, whatever, I'll take it, you know, go prove this guy wrong. Yeah. And I got to Goosehead. My one thing was, I don't want to touch the network that I already have in real estate. I don't want to be known as the guy who comes in and doesn't really learn the job, doesn't really, take time to do new things and learn new things the hard way. So for the first 6 months, I cultivated relationships with referral partners. That's all I did for 6 months. I'm not sure if you guys know, but at Goosehead, there's no lead lists. There's no here is a roadmap of our clients. Here's what you can do. Here's whatever. There's no business that they give you. They give you a desk, they give you a laptop, and they give you some software that lists out referral partners, lenders, and realtors in the area, and they say, go grab deals. And and so that's what I did for 6 months. And then in my 5th month live, I ended up doing about 120,000 in premium, almost 15,000 in revenue. And from that point on, I was like, great, let's just supplement this now with my original network. And it jumped. I had immediate success. It was addicting, the success. But again, my brain works a little different. Each deal that I was doing, I was like, oh, well, with my commission splits, this is how much money I'm leaving on the table. Which is dangerous. Once you get to that point, there's no going back. So we, I had ended up finding Joe through a mutual connection on a Facebook group, which, hey, Facebook groups are invaluable.
They're invaluable.
Invaluable.
We connected, shared my story with Joe, and we are now on the way, baby. So, this
talk about how you were able to cultivate. So somebody who's brand new to freaking insurance.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, going in, because there's people who have been in insurance for 10, 15 years and still can't get a referral partner out of a lender or a real estate agent or whatever. What were the things that you were doing differently to separate yourself from the noise? Because and I know you ain't the only Goosehead person that's probably been hitting them up either. So how was it Joseph that got the deal?
Man, you know what? You don't know adversity until you call someone and introduce yourself as Joseph from Goosehead, and you just get a tongue lashing like you've never had before. I'm so tired of you Goosehead reps calling me, blah, blah, blah. You guys are all the same. I've heard from about 100 of you guys in the last month. And listen, I to a fault, I am probably the most confident man in the room right now. And maybe for no good reason, but I got good advice when I was 18 years old. And that advice was fake it till you make it. And that I will do that until the day I die. If I don't know something, I will still sound like the most confident man in the world and give you an answer. Now, is it correct? I don't know, but we'll find out. We'll find out together. And that's basically what I did. But it was also, I do want to attribute some success to, I speak the language, right?
You're saying on the mortgage real estate side.
On the mortgage and real estate side, right? I've been in houses, I've sold houses, I've bought houses. It's universally, I think the most successful people understand the same language, and the language is money. And my whole pitch was, hey, I get it. You've talked to a million Goosehead agents. You've probably talked to a million State Farm farmers, Allstate agents as well. Everyone wants a piece of you. Everyone wants a piece of the business that you've built. But I'm not here to take a piece of the business. I'm here to supplement your business. Here's my guarantee. I guarantee that if you have a client that needs insurance and you send me that 1031, I am or 1013, whatever it was, I'm on them immediately. I guarantee a phone call within the first 10 minutes of seeing their phone number. I guarantee that, with all my systems in place, you will never have a hiccup on the insurance side. Insurance will never be the reason that you don't get paid. Right. And I also guarantee that every single client you send me will call you and say, that was the best insurance, conversation I've ever had in my life. Joseph's amazing. And, those are big words to live up to, but that's what you do on a client by client basis. You give them the best experience possible with whatever they need. And, another big part was I always pitched them. I said, hey, I'm, especially if they're a mortgage lender. Hey, I I'm in the industry. I know a lot of people. I see a lot of people on Facebook groups that are buying houses, right? Who better to partner with than someone that can steer business your way? Oh,
Right.
by the way, if you need to get in front of 5 more realtors, I have those for you too, right? If you need people to send you business, then, great. Who better that's going to work for your business than me, right? You're not partnering with someone who is taking a piece of the pie. You're partnering with someone who is going to be a mutual partner, someone who is going to help your business, and happy customers are returning customers. You want that second house. You want that beach house. You want that mortgage. You want that opportunity to turn three turns on a client. And I'm going to be the one that works to provide that for you. So that was my pitch, and it was easy after that.
Right. You're deal brokering at that point, right? Where it's like, hey, dude, let me just connect you to this. But here's the thing. It's not, you didn't necessarily you probably led with that before you even asked for the insurance, right? Or when you lead with that, the insurance just comes hand in hand, because the only way that these people know each other and how trust was even established and why they're doing business together is because it all ties back to you, right? And I love your point of learn the language. Dude, when we were running these mortgage operations and stuff, again, we were planting insurance agencies inside. Dude, when you can preach to them about making sure they hit their DTI, and they're like, whoa, we've never had an insurance agent talk to us like that to make sure that we get our DTI down so that we can actually close. And then, but hey, we also know that we'll get it to where it needs to be for DTI, but then we also have automatic reviews set up to where we're going to go in and adjust deductibles, whatever we need to do to get them properly covered. Right. But we don't want to hiccup or have a hiccup in your process. We want you to close, and then it's up to us to make sure we're doing right by the client. Right. Dude, when I would come in and say that, they were just like, shit, yeah, I'll send you some business.
Tony, you would be amazed at the amount of business that some people out there could get that say, oh, man, I just can't find referral partners to send me business. You would be amazed at the conversations and deals you could grab by on your introductory phone call. And you don't want to be known as this, because then you just get all the bad stuff. But on your introductory phone calls, if you have any DTI deals sitting on your desk right now, I can handle those. Let me show you what I can do with your worst case scenarios, and then you'll trust me on your best case scenarios. Right?
Hold on. Hey, P&C agents, get your freaking pen and paper out. Right? This is a write down, as Arturo Johnson calls it. Say that again for them, louder in the back.
Absolutely. You would be very surprised at the relationships you could cultivate with mortgage lenders and realtors by, on your introductory phone call, saying, trust me at my worst, I will show you my best. Do you have any DTI deals on your desk that you need to close and make money on right now? If the answer is no, oh, great. It seems like you work with the perfect clientele. You don't have any DTI issues. Great. Let me compete on a quote that you already have on your desk and show you what I can do. Right? Oh, or yeah, man, I'm sitting on two deals that are DTIs, but it's $15,000 in commission for me. God, I'd love to have those closed. Fantastic. Send me both right now. Give me an hour. I'll have returns for you. You let me know where we need to be. I will make sure it happens. Right. And just gaining someone's trust like that, they'll send you all the business.
Right. And I love, so even though you did it at a really fast rate, there's a lot of agents that it takes years to kind of cultivate that. You did it in the first 5 months, but it ain't, guys, I promise you, it's debt to income ratio, Aaron. That's going to be more on the P&C side, unless you're buying a house, I guess too. But
I was Googling it as they dropped those comments.
Yeah.
And that's, and Joe, that's becoming way more of an issue now. And you know that, house prices rising, especially in your area down in Austin. When I was down there last month, I took a look at a few houses, and I don't know how most people afford it. So
it ain't easy, bro.
Yeah, I didn't know that only billionaires lived in Austin. That's congratulations, guys. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, we all know, unless you're in a job where you create your own income, wages are stagnant. And if you're making $60,000, $70,000 and you need to live in Austin, for your job, well, you're going to have a debt to income ratio problem for your loan.
Yeah.
It is just going to happen. So it's becoming more recent, and all you P&C guys out there, I definitely recommend, learning on that, finding your carriers, which are going to be able to let you produce on those deals, reading those guidelines and getting to work on it. Right.
And so again, going back, so guys, kind of the point to it was, even though he obviously struck gold pretty quickly within this industry, it's all the education and all the work before he even went out and was doing it, right? And it's like, hey, don't get me wrong, he did it in 5 months, but it still took him 5 months, 6 months to really get to where, okay, this is a career. This is something that I could probably do, right? Or build a business on, whatever. So stair-step us. So 6 months, you said. So you 6 months in, guys, and you're already issuing over $100,000 in new business. Now, all personal lines, right? So when you hear Joseph's freaking numbers, guys, he doesn't do commercial. He don't do trucking. I was showing him trucking, and he's like, why the hell have I been selling so much personal lines? So step us through those numbers, because I want to highlight those. It's crazy.
What a world you've actually opened my eyes to, Joe. I am just, the possibilities in my head right now are endless. But you get there at Goosehead, you are selling home and auto only. No, even though you're licensed for commercial, you're not allowed to sell commercial until you're a couple years in. There's no life insurance. There's no health certifications or anything you can get to sell there. Unless, they choose you to be one of those guys or girls. And so, literally that is why finding referral partners were so important. You got to have lead flow, personal lines, home and auto. Mm-hmm. I got in right before the rate changes towards the middle of and end of 2022. So I was still seeing, $900 to $1,300 home prices, still seeing $85, $90 a month auto premiums. And so you're sitting there and you're thinking, God, I got to do 110 of these a month to even live the way I want to live. What am I doing? Right. Well, then the prices jumped. Right. So at the end of 2022, which is when I started to have that success, put up $15K in revenue in December. We all know November, December, January, February, usually the dead months for P&C, quote unquote. Right, quote unquote, but you make your own success. January and February, I pretty much took that entire 2 months to recultivate the relationships I had on the investment side. And I started to become more focused on writing builder's risk policies, DP1s and DP3s for my investment clients, and kind of shifted away from actively recruiting for those home and autos, and then just using existing client referrals for the home and autos, and then getting in the door with people on their investment properties. Right? What's the number one rule of investment properties if you're buying and holding? Cash flow. Right? What's a big part of cash flow? Not paying $300 a month for your home insurance on your rental property. So I became known as the guy who would write you the policies that got you where you needed to be on cash flow. And from there, each time I wrote an investment policy for a client, I'd say, who's your home and auto with? Who's your personal home and auto with? Who's your personal home and auto with? Okay, great. It's with State Auto. Okay, great. They just merged. You got a renewal rate. It's $4,000. Great. Let me go ahead and take care of it. And so, you open yourself to different avenues. And then again, for P&C guys, some people that are new out there, maybe not doing as well, asking for the business is such a huge aspect of this industry and any sales industry. Just ask for the business. Hey, have I provided any value to you? Yeah, man, you got my investment property right where I needed to be on cash flow. This is amazing. Great. Where are your other policies located? Right. It's the same thing we used to do at TD Ameritrade. When you first start out at TD Ameritrade, people call in for stock quotes, right? Oh, what's the price of Disney today? Like, oh, it's $15 or whatever. Oh, okay, great. Hey, sir, I'm sorry, but before I get you off the phone, I see you have an account here with us. Where's your other money at? It's a simple question. Where do you park your money? Right. And they tell you, oh, I got an account at, Fidelity. Like, why? Right. And then it just get your foot in the door and start a conversation, ask for the business, provide value. and the rest takes care of itself.
Right.
Well
right.
said.
And so then you recultivated those kind of relationships. You really grew on your current book of business and referrals through the investment property side of things.
Mhm.
And then, so you gotta share it. What were those best months, man? Cause I've never literally, and I've met a lot of freaking people, man.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody that has sold that much in 1 month on personal lines only. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I could tell you that I was the only guy in the office doing it, but my team that I was on, we were stone cold killers, man. We would have every single month, 4 to 5 of us at 20 to 25K in revenue every single month. Month. So
anywhere from a little bit $200 or more $1,000 in new business premium per month in personal lines in the past 18 months, guys.
yeah.
We've known these markets.
Oh,
I mean, that's
as
just
recently
crazy.
as recently as April. So,
Right.
right before I started transitioning into an agency owner role. Yeah, the market's hard. We all know that, right? We get those rate increase emails every day. We get the closure emails every day. But it doesn't matter what the price is. I'm sure we've all had this where, you quote a client maybe, $800 to $1,000 more in premium than their next best offer. But you're winning the business because of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're winning the business because you provide value. They know that you're one phone call away. Right. They know that, hey, there's a face and a voice to, if my family is in need, right, I can call Tony Merwin. I can call Joe Campert. I can call Joseph Nourai. And they're going to answer. It's not like I'm calling a landline from, 1990 that a secretary is answering. I've got Joseph's cell phone number, right? I could shoot him a text. I can, and a lot of those things will win you the business regardless of premium, especially in these markets, man. People just want to know they're taken care of. And with pricing the way it is across the board, whether it's a gallon of milk or a gallon of gas or your insurance premium, people will pay more now for having the comfort of not having to ever worry about this again.
That's good. That's good.
And I always tell people, would you rather pay, $2,000 and talk to some recent college graduate who is doing this just to make money for his next venture at Geico? Or would you rather call me, pay $300 more and never, ever have to worry about your family's safety again?
Right. That's good, man. That's good. So I want to ask you this last question, then I'll let Tony kind of wrap up and ask you any questions he's got. What in obviously in all the years leading up to this business owner, like I'm out of corporate. I'm not like, I'm finally starting my own thing. Right.
Yeah.
And not to say that you didn't already have that on the real estate, but this is all me. Right. What do you think equipped you the most in all of your previous experiences, maybe even your top 2, that you think has really prepared you to be a successful business owner?
It's a great question. I think number one is just in all of those, in all of my work experience, I've learned what I don't like. And I think that's number one, right? You gotta try different things and learn what you don't like. I don't like answering to anybody. I know that about myself. It's not that I have a problem with authority. It has nothing to do with that. I respect everyone. I'm a very respectful person, but I don't like answering when I walk in the office door while I'm there at 9:04 instead of 7:30, right? I hit my numbers and I hit more than my fair share of numbers, and I don't feel like I need to answer to anybody. So I learned what I didn't like, first off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Second, I learned that in order to do the things I want to do, Joe, you and I talked about this at length when I was down there at the Redwood headquarters. There are certain things that you want and need in life that you can only take care of on your own. The only way that I am going to be able to afford a beach house in Rosemary Beach, Florida, is by working for myself and building a company. The only way I'm going to be able to take care of the children that my fiance and I want to have is by, building a business, by working for myself. I want to be in an industry where I create my own income and that I'm not trading my time, which I value very highly, for dollars that a company doesn't really value me at.
Yep.
And that's the two things I learned working in corporate that have equipped my mindset right now that, okay, that's my mindset. I know what I don't like. I know why I want to do what I'm going to do. Now, how do we do it? Right. That's the third step is you learn how to do it, or you do, and you learn on the way. And that's where we're at.
Right. That's good. Guys, go ahead and open it up for Q&A. Josh,
We
I
had
see
one
a comment
come in.
there. Yep. Let's see here. How have you used social media to benefit your agency?
Ooh, great question, Josh. So I am probably the worst example of a business owner on social media. I feel like I was kind of in the middle of social media eras, right? It was kind of people a little, and for those who don't know, I'm 30 years old. So it was people a little bit older than me got the very, very start of MySpace. And they figured out how to engineer MySpace. That's when like all these artists and music boomed on MySpace, right? All those band managers and
my page was sick, dude.
I bet my man.
Playing.
By the way, anyone 35 years old and younger actually knows how to code. If you've ever had a MySpace page, you know how to use HTML. You know how to code and copy paste, do backgrounds, all that music coming through your profile. So just reignite that a little bit. But I feel like the people a little older than me really got to experience how to use MySpace and social media. And then the people a little younger than me, right? Facebook came out when I was maybe a junior or senior in high school, really got popular. But it was never a thing where like, oh, we had to be on that, right? We need to figure this out. But the people younger than us, younger than me at least, well, they got the, Snapchat, Instagram era, how to get business from that, how to market yourself on that. So I feel like I was a little bit in the middle on the social medias, and I have not been able to take advantage. One thing, Josh, I will say though, the one thing I do know how to do, and I could probably go get $6,000 to $8,000 of revenue in business a month from scratch if I was a brand new agent doing this, is you join every Facebook group known to man, investment group in your area. Right. My area, DFW investments, right? DFW buy, sell investments, whatever. And every single post you see about insurance, you'll see about 3 a day. You comment and you let them know that you are the go-to insurance guy for the group and that you promise you can have a quote turnaround in about an hour.
Yep.
Do that. Get $6,000 in revenue. I guarantee it per month. Guaranteed.
Love it. I love it. What makes a successful trucking agent? Well, when Joe, once he gets that all going, we're going to bring him back and we'll talk about that. We won't get in that to this now, whoever you are, but go check out the Trucking Syndicate. So it is a separate group that I have specifically for trucking. Me and Donald McGeen have over an hour-long training in there on literally everything that we're doing to find success within the trucking space. So I'd go check out, again, it's the Trucking Syndicate. I'll make sure I get you in there if you haven't already joined there. Okay. I think we're good, guys. If you want to drop anything last minute Q&A, well, Aaron's asking. So I think I saw, I would be surprised if you were networking. So Aaron asked, did you network at all?
Yeah. So, like I said, a big part of starting off and learning was I was never in the office. When you're starting off as an agent or you're building an agency, you're an agency owner, unless you're, I don't want to sit down and make dials all day. So, I either farm that out or, if that's something you want to do, you can do it. But I'm on the road. Nobody is going to make stuff happen besides you. If you need to stop into some brokerage houses, some realtors' offices, et cetera, knock on the door and introduce yourself, do it. Another big part, Aaron, of networking is, once I got my first few referral partners, I offered to throw events for them. I said, hey, are you free this Thursday or Friday night? Okay. Yes. Great. We're going to go over to this bar or restaurant. I'm going to take care of a tab for happy hour. I'm going to bring 6 real estate agents and you're going to be the only mortgage lender in the building. Does that sound like something you'd like to do? Yes. That's awesome. I'd go do that. Yeah, right. Who's going to say no to that?
Right.
And you go in, you broker those relationships, as you said, Joe. And great, at the end of the day, oh, hey, Jamie sent me her client. Thank you so much for throwing that networking event. And then you have the leverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joseph's a guy who can connect people and bring me business. Now I've got the leverage to say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Mortgage Lender, now that you know what I can do, why am I not getting 100% of your business?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there's the asking for the business, right?
Yep.
I'm sending you business. Now you send me all of your business and see how hard I really work for you, right? I did this for you off of a 1 home and auto lead, right? So imagine what I'm going to do when you send me, 6 to 10 a month. And that's the kind of networking I did.
You said the connector, right? That's that's how I point at Merwin. Merwin is known as one of the master connectors of the industry. You need to meet. So Aaron is a good friend, and we do some business together as well on the life and health side. But she is a badass networker, dude. Like, you guys should totally link up. I think you guys would have some synergy there.
Aaron, we'll definitely connect. Send me a friend request, and I'd love to talk to you.
Love it, man.
Love it.
Tony, what you got, man? This has been freaking awesome.
Well, there's two things that are kind of just the overarching theme of Joseph Nourai. He summed it up in one simple sentence, was that you make your own success. But he said it earlier, and we kind of glossed over it, that you said, maybe there's some people out there that are listening to the show or out there just in the insurance world that don't feel like they're at the peak of their success, right? Or that they're running their best game right now. And that in their mind, they are sitting there waiting, man, if I could just catch a break, if I could just get that one deal, if I could just get a little bit lucky. But it never really works like that. And you know that, right? They think that way. We think that, right? I mean, if somebody could just pick up the phone and call me and buy some fucking insurance from me, then maybe I could do something.
Right.
But it rarely ever works that way. You have to, exactly like you said, you have to make your own success. And you even alluded to a little bit earlier that you have to create opportunities. You have to put into action to create opportunities, right? And as you start to create your own success, your own, like some of the things you were doing, then opportunities start to fall in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Can't sit around and do nothing and wait for opportunity to fall in your lap. So I really appreciate that you brought that up, and I just kind of wanted to touch on that again and highlight it. I think that's kind of the overarching theme or arching theme of everything that you've been doing, is out there making your own success, kicking down doors, creating opportunities. And then what happens? More opportunity piles onto that for you.
Right. And I know you guys are the king of that. I see you guys, half of my timeline every single day is the syndicate, Joe and Tony posting, right? Joe's got his formula for social media. Tony, I'm sure you've got yours, but to Josh's question about social media, and maybe this is a subconscious reason as to why I haven't or don't use it as much, is, what we see a lot of on social media, and, you guys are the exception. You document, right? You don't create, you document, is for those agency owners or P&C agents or any agent that maybe is thinking that they don't have their top success right now, is all you're seeing is success on social media. You are seeing the guys who don't have to pick up the phone and say, oh man, just made 4,000 in revenue today, didn't pick up the phone. This is why you get into insurance. And sure, right, that is why we'd all like to be. But you're not seeing that for the first year of their agency. That didn't happen,
if not longer.
Right.
That wasn't me for a hot minute, man.
It doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And luckily, I've built a book of business. Joe, you built a book of business. Tony, I'm sure the same thing, where, there are those days where your phone's ringing off the hook and you're like, man, I haven't even touched a computer yet. I'm not doing any lead generation, but this is all coming in. This is great. But that's what you work for, guys, right?
Yeah,
that is the end result of the process. For the first 4 or 5 months I was in the insurance agency at Goosehead, I was making a small draw every month. There were no commissions coming in. There were no bonuses coming in. I was making $3-4 grand a month starting off. And I was, a lot of people flame out. They do, right? But like you said, Tony, the overarching point of everything I was trying to say today is put in the work, make sure that you're doing right by yourself, you're doing right by your business, and you're respecting and valuing your own time. I promise you, you will look at life and business differently if you assign a dollar value to an hour of your day. I learned from someone that said two things to me. One, there are no such things as unicorns. Stop looking for the next best thing. The tried and true methods are always going to be tried and true because they've been tried and they are true. And two, assign a dollar value to an hour of your day. If you think an hour of your day is worth $100, I guarantee you, you're not going to accomplish much in your day. But me, an hour of my day to me is worth upwards of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Some days, an hour of my day is $10,000, right? It just depends on what you're doing that day. But I know if someone wants to take an hour of my time, I either need to be providing immense value or getting immense value. And that's just it. Once you look at it that way, you're not going to come sit down at your computer, get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on Instagram, play Fortnite or whatever the games are these days, and mess around until someone gives you a phone call for $200 revenue P&C policy. Hey, MySpace and Zanga, those were the days for me. But value your time, guys. I promise you'll see a world of difference.
Well said. Well said. Well, man, we are over time. Thank y'all for tuning in.
It's good stuff.
I want to make sure we do respect everybody's time, man. Joseph, thank you. This has been an exceptional opportunity to sit with you. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. And certainly, I would say good luck and everything you're doing in this new space of insurance that you've now with the partnership that you have with Joe. But I know you're in good hands, and you obviously have your shit together because you already get it that you go out and make your own success. So regardless of what you put that dude in, he's going to go find a way to be successful. And hopefully you guys can learn that. So get your ass up. It's Wednesday. Your week ain't over yet.
Let's go.
And
it's the peak of the week.
The health insurance, the Medicare game, truthfully is you're just getting started because it's only going to get busier every single day for the rest of the year for you. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're always here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. when we do it live. That's the way we go. So
peak of the week. Peak of the week, y'all. I got right here is go out and create something out of nothing through taking action, right? So I hope everybody, thank you guys again for hopping on. Thank you, Joseph, dude. It's been an amazing call. I could keep going and I'm just missing calls. I'm literally missing calls right now because I'm finding more value in this call than I am through some guy that messaged me on LinkedIn to try and make me look at an insurtech company. So thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of our members, all of our listeners. If you're catching the replay, don't hesitate to ask any questions. We will come back and make sure we get those answered for you. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, great rest of your week. And we'll see you guys. Launch of Tactical Thursdays tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central. So be there. Appreciate you guys. Later.